Welcome to Super Aging Podcast. This podcast strives to promote healthy aging and amplify caregiver voices while raising awareness about dementia. Thank you for listening. I am your host, Fatou Cisse. Today I am speaking with Ms. Jean Ketcham. Ms. Ketcham is the CEO and founder of Aging But Dangerous, an internationally acclaimed movement of women 50 plus living their lives to the fullest, redefining aging, having fun, and looking good. Since 2008, Aging But Dangerous has provided women a community for positivity, education, and adventure. From colonoscopy parties to fashion shows, with older adults in mind, to skydiving. Known for her lifestyle and encouragement, Ms. Ketcham Aging But Dangerous movement has garnered an international fan base of more than 125,000 people from 50 countries. Aging But Dangerous provide resources across multitude of topics, including relationships, age-related health concerns, and positive and encouraging videos from Jean herself. Please welcome Jean Ketcham.
Thank you, Fatou. That was nice. Thank you very much for those nice words.
Well, thank you. They're all very true. They're very true.
Thank you.
So it's Women History Month.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Can you tell me the significance of this month to you?
Well, I have a real personal feeling of when, as I don't know if anybody knows this or not, I'm 81. I have a daughter that's 53. And when she was born, Gloria Steinem was just really starting out. And I remember so well, and I've always really been a women's advocate all my life, even in high school, everything. But when Michelle was born, I'll never forget it. Gloria was just getting out there and really starting that women's movement and doing one of her, first marches and everything. And I have this little baby girl. And of course, back then you did not know what sex you were going to have. And I so badly wanted a little girl. And of course I would have been happy with a little boy, but so here was my little girl, and Gloria Steinem comes on the TV, and I am just like, so excited. And I'm like, I look down at my baby girl and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I hope, I'm just going to raise her to be, for women's issues and to, to be independent and to be strong and, all those things. And then right after that, the Miss America contest came on. And I'm like, I was watching, I'm like, oh my gosh, what if she wants to be Miss America? And I'm like, well, if she wants to be Miss America, I will stand by her and I will support her no matter what. But it was funny because I had the two different ones. And of course, there's nothing wrong with Miss America. I love that concept. And I love the young women, they're very sharp, they're very intelligent, all that. But I just had that. Gloria Steinem was just right at the top of my list for as far as making a difference. And there's so many women out there. How could we ever, we just can't even name them. But she happens to be the one that I really related to, and I really raised my daughter with those kinds of ideas and that, all that. And in fact, when Michelle graduated from college, which is like, look, how many years ago, if she's 53, we went out to lunch, and I talked to her about, I said, your generation has to keep fighting for equal pay, and I said, Michelle, you just got to do that. And so, and that was like, how many years ago? And of course here, they still don't have equal pay, so anyway, she was a real inspiration with my generation, I think, because she's our age.
I think even generation after yours, she's Gloria Steinem is definitely a feminist icon that many people, including myself, look up to.
Yeah, and she's at, what is she? She's in her 80s now, so she was right there, my age, doing all these wonderful things, and so that was big.
Wonderful. Well, to help our listeners understand who may have not be familiar with Aging But Dangerous, your Facebook page, website, and YouTube channels that provide resources and blog posts and opportunities to discuss amongst your members across many different age-related topics. What was the inspiration for you to start this community?
Well, we started it about, a good friend of mine and I started it about 12 years ago, starting our 13th year. And honestly, it was because women, we had a lot of young friends. I was 69. My best friend was 62, but we had a lot of women friends in their 50s. And, you know, things have changed since then, you know, but back then that 50-year-old woman was so upset about turning 50. I mean, it was just like so traumatic. And also 12 years ago, the early 50-year-old woman also, that was like, there were a lot of them empty nesters, because back then a lot of them, their kids were going to college, and now I think a lot of these women in their early 50s still have kids at home, you know, in high school. But anyway, it was a whole different situation back then. But we saw these women just go, you know, just go into the closet almost, and we're like, what is going on? You know, we got to get these women out there and we got to get them doing things. And we, you know, they just can't sit there on their couch and worry about turning 50 or turning 60 or, you know, whatever. I mean, this whole age thing was just ridiculous.
It is.
So we started it. Suzanne came up with the name and we started it, and we, it just took off. I'm a skydiver. And so I did my first skydive when I was 60 with my 91-year-old dad.
Oh my God.
I know. And
now I see where you get this from.
I know it. So anyway, we did a skydive. We call it the Martini Jump Skydive because I'm a martini drinker. I love martinis. And honestly, Fatu, we had 107 women jumping out of an airplane all day long from the 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, 50 to 80 years old.
Wow.
I'm telling you, it was so unbelievable. And these women, you know, once you jump out of an airplane at 13,000 feet, I'm telling you, you feel like you can do anything in the world.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine me doing that. I'm afraid of heights. So,
well,
wow.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? I would say I'm not afraid of heights, so it's not as hard for me.
Okay.
But I would say 98% of the women that did this were scared of heights. And that to me was incredible.
Incredible. You know? I bet.
Yeah, for them to do that when they were so scared.
And for that many people to actually like commit to do that, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have it. Yeah. We had it every year, and we always had a lot of people. We didn't have that many because we went through a lot of women, but you'd be surprised the women that have skydiving on their bucket list. I think it's amazing. I don't talk to any men that have it, but the women do. And, you know, we're going to do it again after this whole COVID thing gets over.
Isn't that wonderful thing?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we had a colonoscopy party that was really good, and we saved a life. This woman that her mother had died of colon cancer, and she was scared to go to the doctor. So we rented a hotel down here in Minneapolis, and these women signed up. We made a big party for them that night. They drank all their drinks. They stayed at the hotel. The next morning we had limos come and pick them up and take them to the doctor's appointment. And this one woman, she had cancerous polyps. And so we felt so good that we saved this life. And so yeah, we're all about education too. You know, we really want to educate women and keep them, you know, ahead of the curve as far as, and that's where I think I come in at 81, is that I experience the whole, you know, a lot of things with aging that I can share with women. And that's what I do on my little live videos that I do.
That is so amazing. It's very inspirational. How did you even come about throwing a colonoscopy party? I've never had anything like that.
Well, I don't know. We heard some movie star out in California got all of his friends together, and they stayed at his house, and they had a colonoscopy party, and that's what made us think about it. And and we just, you know, we had a lot of support here in the Twin Cities, and we just you know, it was just great. And we just wanted to make women really, really aware of you know, getting a colonoscopy. There's still so many women out there that just don't do it.
That is true. I think the process is a little intimidating for some people.
Yeah.
And if they don't have colon cancer within their family history, they feel like they're okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A personal story to that. My dad, who was also supposed to have colonoscopy in one of the hospitals, when they went through the process of it, he was a little intimidated by that. So at least he pulled off the first time to do it. So
Yeah.
so for you to put people together and have them actually do it, it's inspirational.
Yeah. It was good, and then we had a big fashion show and 500 people, and we had women. I just took women off the street. I told them, I said, I don't care how short you are, how tall you are, how fat you are, how skinny you are. I don't care about any of that stuff. But I want you to walk down that runway, and I want you to have attitude. You have attitude and you pull it off. And I had a woman come and work with them, and I'm telling you, it was like a rock star. And it was the whole purpose of the fashion show was for dispelling the myths of fashion, because back then, and even now, but I don't think it's as bad now. Back then, 12 years ago, it was absolutely ridiculous that all these books came out and everything telling you if you're 50 or over, this is what you have to wear. This is what you have to look like. I mean, it was just stupid. And so this one woman, she was kind of our mascot. She's 80 years old, and she's a professional, competitive dancer at 80, and didn't start doing it till she turned 70. And so she walked down that runway, and she had on a pair of really tight, she worked out with the trainer all the time. She put really pair of tight jeans and this cute little t-shirt and this jacket, this cute jacket. And my daughter, who was 43 at the time, sitting there next to me, and she said, "Mother, I cannot believe I want that outfit that an 80-year-old is wearing." Oh. And I said, "See, it doesn't matter what age. It's just, you wear what you want to wear."
Everything is in our heads, right?
So wear what you want to wear.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I used to own a clothing store, and I was that was so important to me. Somebody would say, "What is this?" They'd say, "What does this look like? Does this look okay on me?" And I'd say, "How do you feel in it?" And they'd say, "Well, I feel really good in it." And I'd say, "It looks great." If you feel good in it, you're going to look great.
That's wonderful. That's really good. Great. Many women look to you as an inspiration. What does it mean for you to be an ambassador of aging?
Well, that's a real compliment. I don't think of myself, like that.
You really are.
Yeah, but I do know that a lot of women listen to me. And I do have things to say, and I just, my daughter used to say to me, "Mother, you give people advice whether they ask for it or not." And I said, "I know, but they can take it or leave it, but I got to tell people about it." I have just always, talked to young women, and, I love talking to young women too, that 40-year-old that's just, really seems to be going through some stuff. And then, the older I have to say that I lose my patience a little bit with some of the older women that are upset about turning 50 or 60 or, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Because, they do. I'm not big on pity parties, and I just don't have a lot of patience for that kind of thing. And I personally have never really thought about age. And I know that sounds strange, but I haven't. So I do like talking about it. And I don't know that I don't know where you'd put me in the slot, but I have always talked to women a lot about, getting older and, and all that stuff, because it's just not a big deal.
Yeah. And it's a natural process anyways. Yeah. It's going to happen as long as we live and breathe under the sun, right?
Well, yeah. And do you have children?
I have two.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I remember when I had my child, and every little stage she would go through, I was so excited. It's like, oh, she can tie her shoes now. Oh, she can go downstairs and fix her own breakfast.
Right.
All these different stages.
Yeah.
And I think that about, getting older is that we go through all these stages. And to me, every single stage is very exciting. I mean, I was thrilled when I turned 80 last year. I had the best party. This was before the COVID thing, of course. And I had this huge party. I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. I had cataract surgery done, and I happened to have the kind of eyes, without paying for any lens or anything, I have the kind of eyes that after the surgery, I had 20/20 vision. I have never had 20/20 vision in my whole life. I wore glasses, then I wore contacts, and then, I wore glasses again. And here I am, 80 years old, and I've got 20/20 vision. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's fabulous. And I don't know, you just have to pull out that good stuff, and always kinds of good stuff. The older you get, my dad was such a good example, he just was so positive and had such a great attitude.
Right.
He loved to boat up here. We had a boat up here in Minneapolis, and he loved to boat. And so he wanted to go out the next day, and the weatherman comes on, and the weatherman says, we're 80% chance for rain tomorrow. It's going to be a real rainy day. And I looked at Daddy and I said, I don't think we're going to be able to go out on the boat, Daddy. 80% chance of rain. And he kind of looked at me and winked, and he said, well, let's concentrate on that 20%. And of course, we woke up in the morning, and as you know, the sky was blue.
Chance, but it's the positive one.
Yeah, but the sky was blue. I mean, it was gorgeous. The sun was out, and we went out on the boat. And so I
love it.
Yeah, I mean, he was so positive, and it's just great. Back to that attitude, and making things happen. So
that's absolutely beautiful. We know at older age it can come with many challenges, both in the physical terms and health and mental and well-being. So your content is really focused, just like you said, is focused on positive side of aging and silver lining. So your interaction with your fan base and following, what do you learn about role of positive aging, like the positive outlook of aging?
Well, I've learned, as we keep saying, what I've learned is that I see things happen to women when they have the right attitude. And one woman, for example, after one of the skydives, she went home, she emailed us, and she said, that was so thrilling. That was so thrilling. She says, I went home, I divorced my husband, and started my own business. Now, we don't want things like that to happen but it just gave her so much confidence.
Unleashed. She got unleashed.
Yeah. And so
on the wall now.
Yeah. And like one of the women in our fashion show was in an abusive marriage, and she just was having such a hard time handling it. And after she was in that fashion show, and we talked to her and worked with her, and she got the nerve to go, and to, file for divorce. And I don't know, women I've learned how, I have this saying that the way I raised my daughter and the way I live my life is that you've just got to take care of yourself, and you've got to, no one else is going to do it for you. I mean, one except you.
Yeah.
I have to tell this story because it's such a great story. When the woman that I bought the clothing store from in St. Louis, I was very good friends with her. She was about 30 years older than I was, and I was like 35. One day we were having a really slow day, and we always serve champagne. We served everybody a glass of champagne when they came in to shop, and it was fun. But it was snowing, nobody was coming in, business was really down. She and I were having a glass of champagne, and I said, are you ever sorry that you started this? And because she didn't have that much money. Yeah. And I said, are you sorry you started this? And, do you sometimes wish you hadn't have? And she looked me straight in the face, and she said, honey, when the day comes that I don't like my life, that's the day I change it. And I'm like,
I love that.
Isn't that great? And that is
a great outlook. I really love that.
I know. And I thought, and I would say to my daughter, she'd be, all down, and I don't have any friends and stuff. And it's like, you know what, Michelle, you got to change it. It's up to you. I can't do it for you.
She got you to look up to.
Yeah.
are connected to the world.
Well, yeah, but I just thought, it's what I really try to tell women and young women. And, it's like if you don't like the way things are going, then do something. I love that whole Nike logo, just do it.
Right.
I love that. I just,
it's very action driven. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. And just,
Yes.
just get out of that. However, as you and I talked a little bit before this podcast, I'm in very good health. And I have a lot of energy, and I do kettlebells and I do all kinds of stuff. And if you're not in good health, I think that's a whole different ball game. And I always think I come across a little smug because I don't know what that's like, but I do, my heart goes out to women that, really are not as healthy, because it's very hard, I think, to have a good attitude when you're not feeling well.
That is true. That is true. Well, that's very thoughtful comment from you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
What do you think is the importance of this type of community for women specifically?
To keep, just so they can keep sharing. It's really important to me for women to keep sharing their stories and what they're going through, and what's happening. I hope this is okay if I talk about this. Can I talk a little bit?
Absolutely.
Okay, about fecal incontinence. I did this video last week on that, and I didn't get very much response because women don't like to talk about it or admit it.
Right. Yeah.
That is a real thing. We've sort of conquered the talking about urinary incontinence. That's kind of we've kind of passed that. The fecal is a real important subject, and I'm not kidding you. I talked to this woman the other day who is a nurse, and she had never heard of it. And she's starting to have it, and she was very upset. And my doctor said to me, you've got to talk about it, because these women, they don't discuss it. They keep it a secret. They're afraid they've got cancer. They're afraid something horrible's happening. And we have medication, and we have stuff that can help that. So, I mean, it's something that we have to talk about things. So to me, this type of community is important to talk about things, to share what's going on in our lives and what we're experiencing. And I just think that is so important, so important.
Yeah, that is really, you're right. That's very important for these issues to be discussed, and to know that people are not familiar with fecal incontinence. It's surprising to me, but I'm in that industry. I'm in the aging industry, so I tend to see a lot of aging issues that our clients are challenged with. So I think, to your point, people need to continue that discussion to raise awareness about these issues. So it actually become a big shock to them when it happens.
Well, I've had it for quite a while, and it's controlling her life. She won't get on an airplane to go anywhere. She won't go out to lunch. She is just so scared and so nervous about it. And I just, you just deal with it. I just deal with it. I don't, it's like just part of my being.
It shouldn't paralyze your life, honestly.
Yeah.
Typically, when many people think of older women, they don't think of skydiving, sex, and performing sports. So how important is it to you to be able to break these barriers when it comes to topics that are considered taboos amongst older people, especially women?
Okay. It's very easy for me. Okay. It's very easy for me to talk about. And I'm the type of person that I just don't play games. I don't, I'm very black and white. There's not a lot of gray area.
You don't beat around the bush.
Yeah. And I just bring up stuff, and I just talk about it. You know, I mean, I talk about vibrators. I talk about, you know, all kinds of stuff. And I used to say all the time to my daughter, I don't talk just to hear myself talk. I talk because I have something to say. And I thought, you know, that is just so me. I always have something to say. That's for sure.
Good for you.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's not, it's just very important to me, as I'm getting older to share things and to, you know, break some of these barriers. And I think we've done a really good job with some of it. I really do.
You certainly did. You continue to do a very good job with that. Yeah. What are some of the discussion points that are typically ignored amongst women that you feel are important to a positive aging experience?
Well, this is going to sound kind of fluffy, but you know, women just, the one thing that is just, they get all upset about, you know, is the wrinkles. You know, when you start getting wrinkles, and I know it kind of bothered me, you know, at 70 and okay. But again, you know, like I've always say, you know, you deal with it. You just have to deal with all this stuff. But I think it's just, you know, you ignore sometimes, you know, health things. I have asthma pretty bad, and I have to get on the breathing machine a couple times, you know, a couple times a day. I don't really do it all the time. But my doctor said to me, you know, I'm the healthiest patient that she has.
Okay.
And I am very, very healthy, but I have this asthma problem. And she said, what you have to learn is to deal with it. You have to learn to take care of it. Whatever's wrong with us, we have to learn how to take care of it. And then as we're aging, you know, we'll be able to go out and have fun and skydive and do whatever we want to do. But we have to take care of those areas of our life that are not, we can't just ignore them. Because like she said to me, no matter how, you know, sharp you are mentally, physically, everything, you have a breathing problem and your lungs are getting older. You may not feel like you're getting older, but your lungs are getting older. And so it's not going to get any better. If anything, it's going to get worse. So I think that's a lot that women, you know, that we all have trouble with sometimes, is just saying, you know, kind of ignoring some of those things that we should be paying attention to and taking care of as we age. Just like the wrinkles. I mean, my gosh, I've had so much fun working with my wrinkles. I mean, it's like I went out and bought a mirror that's like 10 times the, you know, makes your 10 times bigger.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it was so interesting to see those wrinkles. And I'm like, because everybody went like, oh my gosh, no. And I'm like, yes. And so now when I put on makeup, you know, and I just found this fabulous new makeup line, which you'll hear about on our website, but for women. And I really learned how to, you know, work with the wrinkles and how to fill them in and everything. And to me, that's exciting. To me, it's not negative. It's not horrible. It's exciting that I have found a way to get around, you know, the wrinkles and putting on makeup and, you know, working with my face. And I think it's very interesting. I mean, I have three little, okay, you and I can see each other, but I have three little wrinkles here below the eyebrow, and they're not horizontal like wrinkles should be. They're perpendicular, or whatever they are. They're vertical, up and down.
Okay.
And three of them. And it's like, what the Sam hell is that all about? So when you put on...
Your makeups did really good because I can't see them.
I know. Well, is it, you know, so when you put on eyeshadow, if you go across, it accents the wrinkles. But if you go down on the wrinkles, it fills them in. And I'm like, see, stuff like that is just fascinating to me. Yeah. And other women would look in that mirror and go like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And, you know.
Yours is not even visible. Like your makeup did a really good job on that.
Thank you.
So each week you film positive and inspirational videos on your Facebook, for your Facebook community. Where do you get those inspirational topics for your video?
Do you know, I am just, as you can tell, such a talker. But right before I a video, I go in and I'm a bath person. I love a bath. And I go in and take a hot bath. I light all these candles, put them all the way around the bathtub, turn out the light, and I meditate. And something always comes to me. And I do this about an hour before the videos. And then what I try to do is I just try to share about, my thoughts and what I'm feeling, and then asking the audience, the followers, questions, and for them to get back to me on certain, how they're feeling. The whole COVID thing has been very difficult because it is hard to come up with stuff, and you don't want to get too fluffy or too, whatever. You have to have some depth. And so, it's been a real challenge with that. Okay. But I don't know. I just come up with stuff, and so far it's been, it's been good, but I just, that's how I do it. I meditate. I really believe in meditation.
Isn't it wonderful? Yeah. I meditate too. Not an avid meditative person, but I do meditate when I can. It's really good.
Yeah, it is. It's just like very soothing and very. It's going back to that within, and who you are within, and your feeling,
that awareness,
thoughts, and no one else is there around you, so you're dealing with just yourself, and I think that's you just learn a lot that way.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So the term young at heart comes to mind when I watch your videos and listen to your messages. What does the term means to you?
What does what mean?
Young at heart.
Oh, young at heart.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it means it still goes back to what we've been talking about, young at heart. It means your attitude and being positive, and I don't think it's really your personality so much. My dad was really young at heart, but he was a very quiet man, very subdued, didn't talk a lot. So I don't think it's the personality as much as just your attitude and your, I just can't stress that enough. The whole, one thing is being positive, but having the right attitude about life and about yourself and about, it's, it is just so, so important. When I was about 37, and I was working in the clothing store, no, I was younger than that then because I hadn't bought it. And my friend and I went down to a fashion show or a fashion mart in Dallas. And I remember thinking, it's like it happened yesterday. I remember we were in a big crowded room, and this woman walks in the room, and everybody kind of turned and looked at her. And I said to someone next to me, who is that? And they said, I don't know who she is. Well, she didn't have on the greatest outfit. It was okay, but not great. But and her jewelry wasn't that fabulous. She wasn't really that pretty or anything.
Yeah.
And it just hit me right between the eyes after she got about 3/4 in the room. Attitude. That woman had attitude, and she walked in that room like she owned it. And she wasn't anybody. I checked afterwards, and she was not. She was just a regular person. And here I am in my early 30s, and I thought, that is just it. If you have the right attitude, you can get by with so much, and they can look at you and go like, wow, look at her. And yet it's just because of your attitude. So, I think so much of it is that, and just not being old, and just like this whole old thing just blows me away. And the more of these interviews I do, the more I get so emphatic about, just get off this age thing, and don't put yourself in a box. Because, like me at 81, if somebody didn't see me, they would think 81, hunched over on a walker, blah, blah, blah. Right. That's not me. And I just, and it's like, you can't box people up because of who they are or what they are or how old they are.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this whole age thing now is changing so fast. I mean, my gosh, these 50-year-olds look like they're 35. I mean, it's amazing how
Right.
eating better, they're taking better care of themselves. And I mean, there's just the age thing is just, it's just silliness, I think.
Yeah. I think there is a lot of information that are out there now about self-care and, healthy aging and all that stuff. So I think people are learning more about those things and hopefully applying them, and we are seeing some results in that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I always say, don't put me in a box because of my age. If you do, there better be a door on it because I'm getting out of there. Don't put me in a box.
I love that. I'll take that with me.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't let anybody put me in a box too. I'll find a door to it and get out.
Yeah.
I love it. From your point of view, is there an ideal age?
No.
Yeah.
When I look back on my aging, I really never thought about aging really, but to me, when I turned 30, I had a little child at 2 years old and I was losing a baby at full term. And I mean, it was a nasty, terrible way to lose a baby. I was losing tissue and stuff. Anyway, I remember my 30th birthday, getting up and looking in the mirror and thinking, now I know what they mean when they say, I feel like I'm 100 years old. Now, it wasn't the fact that I was turning 30. It was the fact of what was happening to me at 30.
Yes.
And the same thing at 40. 40, I'd sold my store in St. Louis, my clothing store. I moved up to Minneapolis 8 days before my birthday, and I locked myself in a room. My customers were calling me. They were so crying because I wasn't there and because this woman canceled all the clothes, all the clothes that they're going to buy and all this stuff. And so it wasn't that I was turning 40. It was the fact that I was just lost at 40. I had left my life and I didn't know what to do with myself, but I could have been 50 or 20 or anything. So when I look back on my different ages, same thing with 50, 60, 70, 80, I see where I was at the time. On my 50th birthday, it was fabulous. I mean, oh my gosh, I didn't mind turning 50 at all. I had the best birthday. And we were out on a boat going to Key West with some friends, and we were having a margarita, and my good friend looked at me. She was like 42 at 40, and I'm like turning 50, and she started laughing. And I said, "What are you laughing at?" And she said, "It's a joke." And I said, "What's a joke?" And she said, "It's a joke that you're turning 50." But so I always say it's just back to that frame of mind and that attitude and that mental stuff is
right.
It's don't let it get to you because it's it's just where you are on that birthday. And I don't, it just amazes me. Everybody gets so upset. My dad on his 100th birthday, we went home to celebrate, and he went out playing golf and was just wanted to skydive again when he was 100, but his wife wouldn't let him. Got married at 94 and she would not let him skydive. And I swear he could have skydived at 100. I know he could have.
Your dad got married at 94?
Got married at 94, and I advised no one to do that. Talk about baggage. She had baggage.
Wow.
And I'm sure he did too, but
And is your dad still alive?
Did what?
Is your dad still alive?
No, he died, I don't even remember, about 5 years ago or something. And here's a man who really thought he was going to live forever. He was in the nursing home 2 weeks before, but in very good health until he went to the nursing home. He's having little mini strokes. And he said to me, he said, "Jean, I just didn't think this would happen to me." And I said, "Daddy, you're 105. It's just like, he honestly thought, I think he's going to live forever. But, I don't know. He was mentally... And never had,
What a blessing for him to live that long and healthy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And my mother was just the opposite. She died at 72 and was so unhealthy. But I love to tell stories about him because it's so interesting. He never ate vegetables. He never ate any fruit. He didn't drink water. He drank a half a gallon of whole milk every day. He did all the wrong things, and he was healthy as could be. Never had a weight problem.
You never know what nature have in store.
I know, low cholesterol, low blood pressure, everything. Somebody told me once, a doctor told me once, they said, you need to have his DNA tested because, for your grandkids, because that is very abnormal. That's not normal. And I was always kind of sorry that I didn't do that because he's evidently had the and lived on a high fat diet, loved fat and sugar.
There you go. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, he did all the wrong things and still tried.
Yeah. I know. If he had done all the right things, who knows? He might have died at 70. I don't know. Who knows?
Right. Well, if you have his genes, which it looks like you're doing great at 81 and doing all these amazing things, maybe your DNA should be tested.
Yeah. Nobody had ever said that to me. Maybe it's, that's a good point. Maybe I should, because I have 2 granddaughters. That's for sure. So,
yeah. So many of your followers are encouraged by your energy and positivity. Do you think that this positive outlook is possible for anyone at any age?
No, I don't. And the reason I say that is because I just think some people just won't work on it. Some people, it's just in their mind that they're getting old and that they can't do this and they can't do that, and they just not, they're not going to change. I have always said, I will help any woman in the whole world. I will take her hand and I will pull her along with me, and I will do anything I can to help her if she wants it and if she's willing. If she's not, and she's negative and she's not going to do anything, then I just walk away, because I just think there's people out there that you just can't change them. I mean, you just can't. And I just, and I don't want to spend the energy trying to change someone, because it doesn't work. Now there's those women out there that are kind of right on the cusp, right on the, edge of like, well, maybe I can do this, or maybe I can do, and then you just go all out for them. So no, I don't think everybody can have a positive attitude. I wish they could, but
yeah, that's true. You can, like, there is this saying that you can force a horse to the river, but you cannot force them to drink. So to your point, you can't force them. Yeah. What do you do on, like, when you're having your off days or just not feeling your best? What do you do?
I said that. I was telling my husband that question, these questions, and went over that question about, what do you do when you're having an off day? And he said, you have a glass of wine. No, not unless it's evening. I do not have a drink during the day.
Okay.
But no, what I do, and it certainly happens, not that often, but it certainly happens, because I am very busy with Aging But Dangerous. I am very involved with it. And so I do have a lot to do that keeps me active and keeps me going. And, but when I'm having an off day, I have to say, one of the most, and it's always been all my life that I can remember, one of the most important things for me to do is read a book.
Okay.
And reading to me, I happen to be a pretty fast reader, but reading to me is, I just get into another world, and I just don't think about anything else. And it just shuts everything out. Okay. And, that, and then, or I'll go for a walk, or, call friends. I'm a real big, I always say to people, if you're lonely, if you're having a down day, if you're bad, just call a friend. Through this whole COVID thing, I don't know about you, but I have reconnected with a lot of old friends that I hadn't talked to for a long time. Yeah. It has been wonderful. And I just think, even if you haven't talked to a friend for years, if you have their phone number, give them a call and just say hi and get in the conversation. Yeah. And that is, to me, that, of course, I'm a real extrovert, but to me, that helps me so much. And, I'm getting ready to call this high school friend of mine. that was my best friend in high school, because everybody always asked me a lot of times is, have you always been this way? Have you always been this positive and this, this way? And I'm like, yeah, I think I have. And then, so I'm going to call Sandy and say, Sandy, was I that way in high school? You know what I mean? So, and I know she's going to say yes.
Back then, so she can tell you what it was like.
But I kind of need to reassure myself and make sure I'm not changed. But I think I'm exactly the way I was back then. I don't know, but yeah, call friends. I think that is so important.
It is important, yeah.
And then, of course, back to the meditation,
Right. Yeah. I think that those are really good ways to approach life in general.
Yeah.
For any of our followers who are feeling out of sort of over the incredible changes like day-to-day life midst in the COVID pandemic, what message would you want to share with them?
Well, first of all, it's just about, it's not over, but we're going to have so much more freedom in a few months, which is very exciting.
Very much.
Yeah, but it just goes back to the same thing that I always say to them. You take care of yourself. Go and, do something. I don't know what you just, whatever you like to do, just do it, but do something and to make yourself feel better, and don't sit around and, poor me and I can't believe this is happening. And, thank you, God, and I say that sincerely, that we got through all the political stuff, because I think I don't care what side you were on, the political thing, I think just even made the COVID worse, because there was so much.
It really did.
Yeah, there was so much drama and so much, dramatic stuff happening. So that, that was a real blessing. And I think that's, that has helped a lot. But yeah, it's just back to the same thing we're talking about is, you just got to find it yourself. I can't tell you what it is, and no one else can. Just go in there and find something that's going to make you feel better and get you through this. And I think we have really almost gotten through.
That's true. That's true. And how do you practice self-compassion?
Well, that's a difficult one for me, because I don't, and I was just saying this to someone the other day. How you're always supposed to, they say you're always supposed to have self-love, love yourself. I changed that love word to like. I think you've got to like yourself. Okay. And there's many things about myself that I really do like, that I'm just like, I'm glad. And I like the fact that I'm outspoken. I like the fact that I'm not, wishy-washy, and I like many things about myself. And of course I love myself, but I like myself really too. I think those are two different things. Okay. And I just I think, like you and I were talking, if it's something that, you've done something, or, maybe you can't forgive yourself for something, you just have to work on it, and you have to forgive yourself, and I don't know. I don't put myself out there and just dwell on something. I usually take care of it. If I would say something to somebody that was not, that I am bad about, like say I've had a couple glasses of wine, you get a loose tongue. And if I say something and then I think the next day, oh my gosh, you shouldn't have said that, I just call them up. I just call them up and face it and just say, I'm sorry. I had 2 glasses of wine. I'm sorry I said that. And I just face things like that head on. And I don't let them stay in there and just
bug you.
Yeah. You just get them out there and face them and go on with your life and be a better person next time.
That's a beautiful way of taking care of things. Our one final question for you, Jean. Have you ever heard of the term SuperAgeers? I believe this truly captured the zest of life that you displayed through your work at Aging But Dangerous. So thank you for that beautiful work that you're doing.
Yeah, well, thank you. I have never heard that term, SuperAgeers.
Okay.
What does it mean?
So SuperAgeers are people who are aging. You are a SuperAger. So
Okay.
people who are aging and living life to the fullest, and with, just like you said, with a mindset of like capturing the world as it is, like dealing with their lives just like at 70. And also their brains are also aging slower, like they're not getting any cognitive issues and physical issues, and they sometimes they age up to like 100, just like your dad is a super ager as well.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Yeah.
that's who super agers are. It's a new term that came into the research world. So it's super agers, super aging, and they tend to find them in places that tend to focus on like the mind diet, like the eating healthy. The places like Japan have a lot of super agers. Here in the US, there are a super aging community sort of in Seventh Day Adventists. So those are those that's where you see super agers. But you and your dad are super agers, and there are people within the community, but not as many, that are also super agers. So you embodied that super aging.
Well, thank you. But you know what? I have to tell you, in the work that I'm doing, I do meet unbelievable women that are like, 80, 90, years old that are just, I mean, I think there's quite a few of them out there. We just don't always hear from them. You hear from someone like me because I'm out on the circuit,
Right.
and I have a lot of exposure, but boy, there's some women out there that are a lot older than I am that are doing some great things. So I do think it's amazing. I thank you for that compliment. I hope I am a super ager.
You're very welcome. And I would love to connect with some of your super ager friends as well, so we can get their stories out there. I think it's inspirational. We need to hear more of these and enlightened by them and see how people are living their lives, because your lifestyle, Jean, is incredible. It's just inspirational.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you very much for being on Super Agent Podcast. I really appreciate your time and truly, deeply enjoy my time with you.
Okay. I did too. I did too.
Thank you.